So today, I want to talk about something that happened last week that almost nobody in Western media is covering adequately. Russia and Iran just signed a comprehensive strategic partnership treaty. 20 years. Military cooperation, economic integration, energy coordination, technology transfer. And what most people do not understand is that this is not just another diplomatic agreement. This is the formalization of an anti-American axis that has the potential to completely restructure global power dynamics for the next generation. Let me be very clear about what I am saying. The global order that has existed since 1991, since the collapse of the Soviet Union, the order where America was the unquestioned superpower, where American military power guaranteed global trade routes, where the US dollar was the unchallenged global reserve currency, that order is ending. And this Russia-Iran pact is one of the clearest signals that the transition has already begun. So, let me walk you through what this agreement actually means, why it matters so much, and what the consequences will be for every major economy on Earth. Because this is not just about Russia and Iran. This is about the entire architecture of global power shifting beneath our feet. Let us start with what this treaty actually contains. First, military cooperation. Russia has agreed to provide Iran with advanced military technology. We are talking about air defense systems, potentially fighter aircraft, satellite technology, and intelligence sharing. For decades, Iran has been operating under severe technological disadvantages compared to Western militaries. Russian technology transfers change that equation fundamentally. Iran's military capabilities will increase significantly over the next 5 to 10 years. And this is happening while Iran is actively at war with American forces. Second, economic integration. Russia and Iran have agreed to conduct bilateral trade in their own currencies, bypassing the US dollar entirely. This is enormous. Remember what I have explained before about the petrodollar system. The global dominance of the US dollar depends on oil being priced in dollars. If major oil producers start pricing and trading oil in other currencies, the entire foundation of American financial power begins to crack. Russia is the world's second largest oil exporter. Iran has the fourth largest proven oil reserves on Earth. These two nations conducting energy trade outside the dollar system is a direct assault on American financial hegemony. Third, energy coordination. Russia and Iran together control approximately 40% of global natural gas reserves. 40%. And they are now coordinating their energy policies. What this means in practice is that Russia and Iran can jointly manipulate global energy prices, can coordinate production cuts or increases, can weaponize energy against Europe and Asia in ways that neither country could do alone. This is an energy cartel with genuine geopolitical power. Fourth, technology transfer beyond military systems. Russia has agreed to help Iran develop its civilian nuclear program, its space program, its telecommunications infrastructure. Iran is being brought into Russia's technological ecosystem. And this is happening while Iran is under comprehensive Western sanctions. Russia is essentially offering Iran an alternative development path that does not depend on Western technology or Western approval. Now let me explain why this matters so much. For the past 30 years, American foreign policy has operated on one core assumption, that America could isolate its enemies. If a nation opposed American interests, America could cut that nation off from global trade, from global finance, from advanced technology, from international legitimacy. And that isolation would force the targeted nation to either capitulate or collapse. This strategy worked against Iraq. It worked against Libya. It has caused severe economic pain in Iran, in North Korea, in Venezuela. But here's what is changing. Russia is offering America's enemies an alternative. Russia is saying, you do not need to submit to American pressure. You do not need access to Western markets or Western technology. You can align with us. You can trade with us. You can develop with us. And together, we can build a parallel system that does not depend on American approval. This is the end of American isolation as a viable foreign policy tool. And it is not just Russia and Iran. Look at what else is happening right now. China and Russia have already deepened their strategic partnership over the past decade. North Korea is now sending military equipment to Russia. Venezuela is coordinating with Russia on oil production. Syria remains under Russian and Iranian protection. Belarus is effectively a Russian satellite state. We are watching the formation of an anti-American bloc spanning Eurasia. And this bloc controls enormous natural resources, has significant military capabilities, and represents billions of people. Now let me talk about what this means economically. The foundation of American global power is not actually military, it is financial. America can afford to spend more on its military than the next 10 countries combined because the US dollar is the global reserve currency. Foreign nations hold dollars. Foreign central banks buy US Treasury bonds. This creates permanent demand for dollars and allows America to borrow essentially unlimited amounts of money at low interest rates. America's $39 trillion in debt is sustainable only because of this system. But the dollar's reserve currency status depends on one thing. Everyone needs dollars to buy oil. The petrodollar system. And now Russia and Iran, two of the world's largest energy producers, are explicitly moving away from dollar-denominated energy trade. If this trend continues, if more nations start pricing oil in yuan or rubles or even in a basket of currencies, the demand for dollars declines. And if demand for dollars declines, the entire American financial system has to adjust. What does that adjustment look like? Higher interest rates because the US government has to pay more to convince foreigners to buy treasury bonds. Higher inflation because the dollar loses purchasing power. Reduced ability to finance military operations because borrowing becomes more expensive. Decline in American living standards because imports become more expensive. This is not a collapse. This is not an overnight crisis. This is a slow grinding decline in American financial power, and it is already beginning. Now let me talk about the military implications. For decades, American military strategy has relied on something called power projection, the ability to deploy overwhelming force anywhere on Earth within days. Aircraft carriers, air bases in allied nations, global logistics networks, all designed to ensure that America can fight wars far from its own territory. But this strategy has a fatal vulnerability. It depends on uncontested access to global commons, to international waters, to airspace, to trade routes. What Russia and Iran are now doing is contesting that access. Iran controls the Strait of Hormuz. Russia controls significant portions of the Arctic and has rebuilt its military presence in Syria and the eastern Mediterranean. Together, Russia and Iran can create zones where American power projection becomes prohibitively expensive or outright impossible. The US Navy cannot operate freely in the Persian Gulf, while Iran has the ability to strike aircraft carriers with anti-ship missiles. American air bases in the Middle East are within range of Iranian missiles. The entire American military posture in the region is now vulnerable in ways it has not been since the Cold War. And here's the deeper problem. America cannot afford to fight Russia and Iran simultaneously. The Pentagon knows this. American war planners know this. If America commits fully to a conflict with Iran, Russia gains freedom of action in Eastern Europe, in the Caucasus, in Central Asia. If America focuses on containing Russia, Iran gains freedom of action in the Middle East. This is a two-front challenge. And historically, empires that face two-front challenges lose. Now, I want to address the question some of you are probably asking. Is this really a doomsday pact? Is that not an exaggeration? Let me explain why I use that term. A doomsday pact is an agreement between parties where both sides commit to mutual defense, knowing that the result could be catastrophic conflict. During the Cold War, NATO was a doomsday pact. An attack on one member meant war with all members. The logic was that the certainty of massive retaliation would deter aggression. The Russia-Iran treaty contains similar language. Both nations have committed to mutual defense cooperation. Now, this does not mean Russia will automatically go to war if Iran is attacked. Treaties always contain ambiguity, but it does mean that any future American military action against Iran has to consider the possibility of Russian involvement. And that possibility changes the entire strategic calculus. If America launches a large-scale military campaign against Iran and Russia responds by providing Iran with real-time intelligence, advanced weaponry, and electronic warfare support, American casualties increase significantly. American costs skyrocket. The risk of direct US-Russia confrontation becomes real. And a direct US-Russia confrontation, even a limited one, carries the risk of nuclear escalation. That is why I call this a doomsday pact. It raises the stakes of any future conflict to potentially civilization-ending levels. Now let me zoom out and talk about what this means for the average person watching this video. You might be thinking, this is all geopolitics, this is all high-level strategy. What does this have to do with my daily life? Let me tell you exactly what it means. The world you have lived in for the past 30 years, the world of cheap goods, cheap energy, stable prices, that world was built on American global dominance. American military power kept trade routes open. The petrodollar system kept energy prices relatively stable. American financial markets provided the liquidity that funded global growth. That system is now under serious threat. And when that system weakens, prices rise. Energy becomes more expensive. Shipping becomes more expensive. Goods become more expensive. Your cost of living increases not because of bad domestic policy, but because the entire global economic structure is shifting. The Russia-Iran pact is one more crack in the foundation. And the more cracks appear, the more unstable everything becomes. Let me give you some specific examples of what to watch for. First, oil prices. If Russia and Iran coordinate production cuts, oil prices spike. If they coordinate production increases to punish specific countries, prices become a weapon. Either way, volatility increases. Second, inflation. As the dollar weakens, import prices rise. Everything from electronics to clothing to food becomes more expensive. Third, geopolitical instability. As American power recedes, regional conflicts that were previously suppressed by American presence reemerge. More wars, more refugees, more humanitarian crises, and here is what concerns me most. Once this process begins, it is very difficult to reverse. American credibility as a global guarantor is like trust. Once lost, it is almost impossible to fully rebuild. Allies who previously relied on American protection start making alternative arrangements. Enemies who previously feared American retaliation become more bold. Neutral nations start hedging their bets. This is how empires decline. Not through dramatic military defeats, but through slow erosion of credibility and influence. Subscribe for more analysis of this Russia-Iran partnership and its implications for the global order explained in simple English. And tell me in the comments, do you think American global dominance can survive this challenge? Or are we witnessing the beginning of a genuine multipolar world? I will see you next time.